Hey, yo, welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast. I am your host, Tru Sav. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, they, them, us, their, whatever your personal pronouns are. Welcome back to the show. Finally recouping. That's crazy when you have to recoup from a vacation. Like, I was out of town with the lovely Mrs. Tru Sav, and it's weird trying to get back into the swing of things. My problem when I go on vacation, when I'm not complaining about the locals being abused, is sometimes I forget that I have a regular life. When you get to about that third, fourth day of a 7-8 day vacation, that's when you kind of lose touch with reality. When you really start to think like, yo, this is my life. Like, I'm really just out here catching all the waves, getting all the tans, just hanging out. Like, this is my life. I don't have no job. I don't have no responsibilities. I'm just out here kicking it. It happens to me every time. And then to be crushed that last day when it's like, pack for, I have a real life and real responsibilities that I have to get back to. But that is okay. That is part of life. One day, this will not be true. I will get to kick it on the beach forever. And I won't have to clock in. I won't have to worry about anybody's HR or anybody's feelings at work. I can just hang out and live my best life, as the kids would say. Well, now that that depressing statement's over, these last couple weeks, last week was the finale of the mental health vacation. So I got about 2 weeks worth of stuff that's happened. It's been going on. It's been an interesting one. Very interesting. Very, very. Most importantly, your boy is back on his grind. Take care of your mentals, your health, and your chicken. I'm on top of it. Eating like a saint since we've touched down from the great state of Hawaii. No meat, no bread, no dairy, no sugar, a little bit of salt on the pretzels. I ate some pretzels with some hummus there. All right. I wasn't as perfect as I thought. I had some salted pretzels. I'm sorry. So and then I actually I haven't made it to 24, but I have been going to the gym right downstairs underneath us. So I have actually been doing what I was supposed to be doing. 14 days in, and I don't know. I love the feeling, especially when I'm back to eating right. Like that was the real key. Like that was the number one part. The thing with the weightlifting is once you get past that first initial soreness, like that first week, that's the hardest part. Again, the hardest part is the third or fourth day. When you're sore, it hurts, and you're just like, I'm just going to relax. And it's like, no. Those are the days that you got to get up. And once you pass that third or fourth day, that's when it's easy. Unfortunately, with weightlifting, for me specifically, as much as I love weightlifting, my problem is I don't know how to turn it off. So I'll say, you know what, I'm going to do an hour cardio, hour of weights. But once I get in there and start lifting weights, and it's like, I can do another set of this, another set of that. And it's not my body that says I'm finished. It's my mind that's like, yo, you in here wilding, young savage. You're tripping. And more specifically, let me be specific. What I mean is, over the last few years, since the wedding specifically, well, even before the wedding, now I'm not going to pretend like I'm a superstar athlete, like I'm just retired from the NFL or anything. But I was listening to an interview with my man, Mike Tyson. I had to call him. I haven't talked to him in a while. And basically he said, the interviewer asked him, like, do you still work out? Do you still hit the weights? Do you still hit the heavy bag? And he was like, nah, I don't mess with any of that. And the interviewer kind of shocked. He's like, well, why? And Iron Mike said, it reactivates my ego. And if I activate my ego, I lose in life. And the interviewer was still rather confused, but I felt that. Like, that was one of the most profound things I've ever heard. Not specifically because it spoke to me. Like, I got it. I completely understood it. The way I look at it is there is a savage inside, and he wants to get out. He doesn't like us being the 9-to-5 working friendly person. Like, he wants to be out there. He wants the attention. The way Iron Mike described it, he said it's kind of like as you start to get back into the routine of working out, he would find himself saying, "Ooh, wow, look at me. You're special. Like, you're better than them. You deserve this kind of praise." And as he was speaking, I was like, yo, I feel it. Because once you go to the gym and you see the effects, you see that your body starts to change, your mind is kind of instantly is like, hey, look at you. Like, you're the shit. Like, hitting them weights and everything. Look, you got it together. You're getting your plan. And it's a cycle. And the one thing he followed it up at the end of the interview, he followed it up by saying, if I activate my ego, I lose in life. And I said, well, how do you deal with that mentally? And his response was, like, you were the greatest of all time. Well, you were one of the greatest of all time. You have all these accolades. Like, how do you not rest on your laurels and live in the past and just kind of be like, look at me, look at how great I am. And he said his past accomplishments were a platform to where he is right now. Like, you have to focus on the future. And I was like, man, Iron Mike, you are speaking to your boy right now. Like, while I would like to be like, oh, you remember the Tru Sav days? You remember when we did this? You remember when we did that? It's fun to reminisce and talk about it, but it's not fun to relive it because I'm not proud of all the things that guy did. To quote Iron Mike, that guy is a trip. like it's fun on the outside to look at it and be like, wow, that must be interesting to live that particular lifestyle, but it's not. Like, it seems like fun to be like, oh, you're jumping on cars and at the bar and acting up and doing cartlicks. Like, all of that sounds fun until it's you. And you have to deal with the consequences of that. You have to deal with other people. Like, then it's a complete hassle. Like, I felt Chint. Like, I 100% felt it. And that's kind of the fine line that I have to teeter on specifically, especially with working out and getting it together. Because once that animal gets out the cage, boy, and he wants out. Like, I think everyone has their own particular battles with their ego, whether it be physical appearance, the intellect, or a host of variety of things that their ego takes over on. And it's an ongoing battle, to say the least. But to bring it all back full circle, I just love, and then shout out to Phonetics, because Phonetics is making me look bad right now. We got hurt the same time of year. It's just completely happenstance. I'm going to detour off for a second. My man's been in the gym for at least 8 months solid, and he's back into rare form. I've been kind of hit or miss. Like, I'm better. Again, I made the joke that he said he looked like a house at the wedding. I said I looked like a subdivision. Well, now I look like Section 8 housing. And my man looks like a condo on the beach. But I've got to work on my mental toughness too. Because one of the things is vanity, the all-powerful opiate. That's vanity and ego work side by side. Because a lot of times it's not me. I'm chilling. I eat my little, like I said, I changed my diet. So my fruits, vegetables, all that's popping. Like that's easy. Going to the gym is easy. It's when people who haven't seen you in a while or people who see you at work like, oh, looking good, you out here really doing it. That's when that little monster, the little savage, he's going to want out. Now, I know you're thinking, you're like, wait a minute. Tru Sav, a couple episodes ago, you had an episode called I'm the Shit, and you know it. So how was that being humble or not being ego-driven? Man, that is a very good question, and I'm glad you said it. There is a very big distinction between having confidence in yourself and thinking that you're better than someone. It's a thin line, and sometimes it's easy to muddy the waters. And again, like I said, it's an issue I have. I'm sure most of us have it. If you're not willing to admit it, I think you're being a little bit dishonest with yourself. But when you are good at something, to the effect of a world championship boxer, it's hard to see people as your equal, especially when you get preferential treatment, doors open for you, you have access to things that other people aren't. It's hard to be humble in that situation. And again, I'm not saying that I'm on the same level as an Iron Mike, but like I've discussed, there's certain things where I had certain advantages, and that in turn gave me the self-confidence that I had. So I think it's an important thing that needs to be worked on in general, that balance between vanity and humility. And especially with working out, because if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, you get paid good. Shout out to my man Dion. I gotta call him too. I haven't talked to him in a while. But yeah, that quote made me thinking about going back to the gym and just trying to keep that inner savage under wrap. Really, I thought about it because I know I needed to get back in the gym. I needed to get it together. When actually, you know what? I have got a secret. I have to tell you guys something. I have not been very honest with you. But there's a good reason. I was somewhat being deceptive. So, I've been saying that I work at Dickey's Barbecue Pit in Castro Valley and all of this and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I don't work there anymore. I used to work there when I first moved out here, but I didn't. I haven't for a while. And the reason being is because I work at this grocery store like maybe 2 blocks from my house. And I couldn't say the name of the grocery store because HR said it was a bad idea and so on and so forth. And I finally talked to them and they were like, okay, cool. As long as you don't say anything disparaging about the place you work at, it's cool. Like they said they would avoid saying the name, but it's cool. Like you can say that you work there. So I'm like, all right. So I work at this grocery store that I don't know how to describe it. It's owned by Amazon. We'll say that. And they sell $8 cucumber water. If you can't figure it out, do your Googles. So I feel so much better. So I just had to share that with you because now everything's out in the open. We can be free and be honest with each other now. And I can tell this story. So it made me start thinking about going back to the gym, like really actually doing weights and stuff. Like I'm not trying to get Buff Bagwell swole again. I just need to get that nice old man where I could wear the sweatsuit to my nieces and nephews' game. They'd be like, who is that fly old dude over there with the fro? Like, oh, that's Tru Sav. I'm trying to get like that. But this all started because every day we have shoplifters. Like every day. Like a day doesn't go by where somebody doesn't get love with something at the Amazon-owned grocery store. And I'm in the break room, and one of the security guards comes in, and he's just, oh man, and I did this and I did that, and I'm like, oh, word, like what happened? Oh, these kids were trying to steal, and like I hemmed one of them up, and I didn't even mess my hair up. That's how I know I'm this, that, and the other. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so you wrestled a 17-year-old girl to the ground and you're proud of yourself? You're, yeah, buddy. Like that's, that's not a good look, but okay, whatever. And as he was talking about this, it made me think about a song I'd heard, oh, Jesus Christ, like maybe 15, 20 years ago. And in the song, the poet that was professing, or that was, I don't know, narrating the song, the question was posed, if you had to fight for your life for 2 minutes, could you? And I kind of stopped and thought about it, and I was like, 2 minutes? Like, yeah, of course. Like, who couldn't? And because I mean, I was in relatively good shape back in the day, and I thought about jumping rope for 2 minutes. I was like, I could probably do it now. Like, I could probably barely make it, but the thought crossed my mind, like, could I right now? Like, if somebody walked in right now and just ran up and just started fighting, like, would I have 2 solid minutes? Like, fighting for your life, like, no holds barred, anything goes for 2 minutes. I mean, I've been talking what for 16. So I mean, it's when I think about it like that, it makes the working out and eating part, it makes even more sense. Because it's like, are you working out to look aesthetically pleasing? Ooh, that was a rough one. Are you working out to look good, or are you working out for functionality? Like, what's the purpose? Like, it's easy to go in there and bang out 225 on the bench press all day, but if you're not mixing in cardio with good nutrition, you're just going to be one of those buff guys that gets that ass whooped. It's just going to be a bad situation for you, my guy. A bad situation. So, I'm all on that. I feel so much better now that we know where we really work at, so I can stop trying to keep it. Because I know you're like, you've told a story about 40 people. How was there 40 people at Dickie's Foot? I know. But we are past that, and we're moving on. Well, another sad best day ever podcast news. I don't really talk about sports, politics, religion, stuff like that. Every now and then I get caught up, and it just happens because sometimes somebody will say something that's just so ridiculous that I have to chime in. Unfortunately, this time it was about sports, and I do follow sports. I'm not going to pretend like I dislike them. I like them for what they are. They're entertainment. I don't necessarily worship at the idol of the NFL, NBA, or anything like that. But if I feel like I can make some easy money, why not? So like I had said a couple weeks ago, there's a guy I work with, and every week he just talked about how the Niners were trash and this and this and this, and he was picking who was winning based on ESPN's probability of who it would. He had the worst system for picking games ever. And normally I would let it ride, but he just talked so much. I was like, all right, you know what? Let's make this bet interesting. Because I was going to bet him, I think, $20 or something, just a friendly 20, a little light 20. And he was like, nah. I tell you what, if the 49ers get to the Super Bowl, then I'll bet you. I was like, all right, no problem. So as we know, the San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl. So I told you, all right, look, I'll bet you $100 49ers win the Super Bowl. So I could teach you a lesson, young sir. So we make the bet. We get everything together. Now, I was gone the whole time that this had happened. I was gone for the Super Bowl. So I was out of town. So I'm watching, and we all know what happened. They lost on the worst coaching ever. Well, I'm not going to get into why they lost, but they lost. So immediately, I'll give it to dude. He waited about 20 minutes until the game was over until he cash apped me and was like, yo, this is your man from work. Like, I'm going to need that. So, I was like, I respect it. The game was over. Run me my money. But see, the cold part is they were up. The 49ers were up 10 points with 5 minutes left in the game, which I'm sorry for people who don't watch sports. That's an eternity. 5 minutes is a long time, but they should have won. It was, the situation was hilarious. Meaning, I don't like betting people. We remember what happened last time I bet somebody at work. And I feared that was going to happen again. So as odd as this sounds, I'm kind of glad that I lost. I know, it's weird. Who's glad that they lost $100? But if you recall, the last time I won a bet with a coworker, they didn't talk to me for like 2-3 months. This one was a little different because I was trying to shut him up. And I ended up losing. So I shut myself up, which is, I shot myself in the foot, whatever. This was kind of bittersweet. But they said this was a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory being a win that comes at a great loss. I would have loved to see my childhood team win the big one, ride off into the sunset. But then I would have had this awkward situation with dude. So the 49ers are up. We're on the beach watching the game, chilling out. And as the comeback starts, I'm like, oh, they're not gonna lose like this. Not like this. Come on. And of course, they ended up losing. And so I'm thinking now, how am I going to give him this $100? Because originally I had said, if I lose, I'm going to give you $100 in pennies, straight up. Like I'm not going to make it easy. I'm not going to give you 100, 20s, 10s, 5s, nothing. I'm either going to give you 101s or I'm going to give you $100 in pennies, just to prove not to prove my point, but to be an ass. I'm just whatever. So like I said, he sent me the Cash App request. I just ignored it because I knew I was going to see him when I got back on Wednesday. Or did he work? Yeah, I knew he worked Wednesday. So I was like, okay. So, of course, I go to the bank. I get in line. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be cool. I'm going to just give him the 101s. I'm not going to be Professor Petty today. Because that would just kind of be bitch made to give him $100 in pennies. Like that's just being salty. Like you lost, pay what you owe. So I did the next best thing. I just gave him 101s. And it's funny because the lady who worked at the bank, when I told her why I was getting 101, she was like, I've got $100 in pennies back here if you want them. And I was like, nah, it's not. If it was a bet that I was upset about or I felt like I got cheated or something, I probably would have gave him the pennies. But again, I'm being a good sport, so I gave him the 101s. So I get the ones. I was off the next day. Wednesday comes, got the money in my bag. I already know what time it is. As soon as I see him, I'm break him off his chicken and move on with my day. To his credit, though, he was a good sport. I appreciate it. I didn't mind losing the money to him, actually, you know. A friendly bet is a friendly bet. Like, when you're dealing with good people and good vibes, like, I didn't even care. He comes in that day, because I come in early in the morning. He came in later. And as soon as he saw me, he just, oh, Tru Sav, run me my money. So I go straight to my locker. Because at first I had a little bit of fun with him. As soon as he says, run me the money, I'm like, yeah, I got $1 for you. And he was like, $1? I was like, I thought you said bet 100. And he was like, yeah, $100. I was like, oh, I thought you said 100 pennies. I was like, yeah, I got your dollar right here. Like, you don't want it? And so I could see the look on his face. He was like, dude's going to try to not pay me. And just for size comparison, I'm what, 6'2", $3 and some change. My man's got to be 5'4", maybe 170, 160, something like that. So there was nothing he could do to try to physically impose me to make him pay, which is why it's always horrible to bet people at work, because now there's going to be this tension if somebody don't pay. But that's not what this was. So he's in the break room on this rant. Oh, I won this and this and this. So I go straight to my locker, go get the money, bam, hand it to him. Here you go. Good game. I guess my team didn't win. So congratulations. When I said that, the rant that he went on stopped right there. He kind of looks at me, looks at my hand, saw the money, he took the money, and he was just like, you know what? Tru Sav, you're a real one. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I bet a total of 4 people, you being the 4th. I bet 3 other people made the same bet, $100 bet. He's like, and none of them have paid me yet. He's like, as a matter of fact, they won't even return my text messages, Cash App request, anything. And so I stood there, looked kind of confused, and I told him, I was like, well, I made the bet and I lost, so this is what you do when you lose a bet. He's like, no, I understand. He was like, I would have paid if I'd have lost too. He's like, but all these other people, they talked all this garbage and talked all this mess. And then when it comes time to pay, nobody wants to pay. Or the refs cheated. Or the NFL is rigged. Or I don't got it right now. And I'm not good at accepting compliments. This will, remember that I said that will come into play later. I don't know. It gets awkward. I don't like people big up in me. I'm like that. It's weird. I don't know. It's something I got to learn to work on. Is letting people say you did good. I don't know. But he was just like, he was so excited. Like, my man was so excited. He wanted me to take a picture with him with the money. So, like, he fanned all the money out, took a picture. We did the whole club pose, point at each other, woot woot. And now, every time I see him, regardless of how he's doing, it's always, what's up, Tru Sav? How are you doing? Woot woot whoop. And not only that, but the people in the break room saw it. Because they heard him going on his rant about people don't pay, da 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 da. And I mean, I'm not going to act like $100 it's nothing. $100 is something. But it's a big something. And to be a man of your word and pay up, not only pay up, but pay up on time and not be ashamed of it. Like, hey, I lost. Like, here you go. Like, you won. Congratulations. I feel like I won the room over in that moment. It was I feel like it showed my character. Because a lot of people were like, I just wouldn't have paid you, or whatever. Probably wouldn't have made the bet because he couldn't risk it. But even the people in the room were like, wow, you paid him the money you owed him? I was like I said, I lost. So how could I show back up here preaching what I preach about how you live in your life and how you treat people and stiff somebody on the bet? Like, it doesn't make sense. It boggles the mind. Just like the guy that stiffed me on the bet for, what was it, like $20, $40, something like that. It's like, okay, you didn't have to pay me the money because you welched on it, but now you're burnt forever. Like, whenever I think of you, I'm going to think burnt. The coldest quote ever, I still love it now, is his reputation precedes him. Meaning, even before you show up somewhere, your reputation is what people know you on. It's 48 laws of power. That's one of the biggest ones, is protecting your image at all costs. And that was me protecting my image at all costs. Like, I had to, whatever my situation was, I had to pay him. That would have been it. And like, if I came to work and I didn't pay him that money and I came up with some excuse as to why, my whole best day ever situation would be shut down. The next time somebody asked me how was I doing, I said best day ever. They're like, yeah, until you got to pay somebody some money, then it make the best day ever. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it was fun. Well, friendly wagers never hurt anybody, and so now, ironically, coming out of that, now my man, that's all he wants to do is gamble. But I realized he didn't know how to gamble. He didn't know what the spread was. He didn't know what an over-under was. He didn't know what a parlay was. Like, these are all common gambling terms. And when I was explaining it to him, he was like, nah, I just bet straight up. I was like, yeah, but that's not where the money is. I was like, the money is, for you non-gamblers, the spread is the number of points which a team is supposed to win or lose. So I think for the 49ers and the Chiefs, the 49ers were the underdogs. So you would add 2 points to their score because the spread was 1.5. So all that means is Kansas City, you subtract 1.5 from their score. San Francisco, you would add 1.5. So if the final score is Kansas City 31, San Francisco 30, then the Chiefs did not cover because they didn't win by 2, and vice versa. The over-under is just a number. We'll say it's 60. So you would bet whether the score is going to be over or under. Score is 31-30. It would have been an over. A parlay is just picking multiple actions. Meaning, so you could pick the 49ers to win, the over, and you could do a coin flip or something. Was the coin flip head or tails? So that would be 3. So the odds of hitting all 3 are 8-1. So you bet $100. That same $100 you would have bet would turn into $800. And as I'm explaining it to him, I'm thinking, oh, I don't think I should have said this. Because I can see the wheels turning. I can see him like, oh, well, I'd have to go to Vegas. So I was like, well, I mean, there's plenty of websites that'll let you make bets like that. And I mean, we're in the Bay Area. It's only an hour to Reno. And I'm sure there's sites for the casinos that let you do it. And he does that evil genius thing where like they rub their chin like, And I was like, oh, I think this is going to be bad. So, and this was last week when I got back. So I didn't talk about this last week. So this week, when I come into work, that's all he wants to talk about. Oh, the Timberwolves, 17-point dogs at home. They hit the over under this, and I was like, oh, my little monster. I was like, now be careful now. There's a reason why they built those buildings in Vegas. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, they built those buildings in Vegas off the backs of losers. So you got to chill out. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a good time, making a friendly bet from time to time. But unless you know what you're doing, you're going to lose your shirt. So I would relax and learn a little bit more, maybe practice. But I think he's got the bug. I think he's got it because that's all he wants to do now. Talk about parlays and over-unders and woo-woo. So hopefully, I hope it works out for my man. I really does. I really does. I does hopes it works out for the young 10 folk. So other than that, it's been relatively boring here in Okanda. Nothing exciting has really jumped out. I did though. I almost had a moment at work. As you know, I'm a retired revolutionary. So I respond to things a little bit differently. Let's see. Last Friday, I maybe had 30 minutes left in my shift. I'm looking for something to do. I'm trying to find something to do. Because that's the one thing I never want to say is I don't have anything to do. Because that's when they always come up with something ridiculous. And another manager asked me if I could help her out. I'm like, yeah, what do you need help with? It's like, well, it's this customer doesn't have her glasses. She needs to pick up a couple of things. Could you help her? So I'm like, what? I'm like, this is what I do. Like customer service, this is my thing. And I only got 30 minutes left. I have not tripping. Like, let's do this. So I go to customer service, and it's an older black lady. She's got to be late 50s, early 60s. And I'm talking to her, and she says she doesn't have her glasses. She gives me the spiel again. She needs what does she need? She needs a crock pot, and she needs a blender. Only two things she needs. So I'm like, oh, this is light work. Yeah, come on. What are we doing? We got a basket, and we start walking. And immediately, her energy is through the roof. Like, hey, how you doing? Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, oh, best day ever. She's like, oh, me too. I'm like, oh, really? Like, well, why is it the best day ever for you? She's like, I finally beat that bitch of a sister of mine. I was like, yo, chill out, little mama. Ooh, let's get away from customer service talking like that, because they're going to think it's me. So we begin our journey, and we walk over to get a blender and whatnot. And as I'm talking to her, I'm asking her, like, well, what kind do you want? Like, are there any specific brands or anything it needs to do? She's like, well, what's the nicest one that you have? I was like, oh, I got that. Like, I could do that. So I show her one of the nice ones. She's like, yeah, I'll take that one. I'm like, well, what about this toaster thing? Oh, whatever the nicest one is. So I'm like, oh, well, like, what's the occasion? She's like, oh, well, that sister I have, we've been in a court battle for like the last year. I'm like, oh, word? Like, what happened? She's like, well, I'm a teacher by trade for like the last 30 years. And I guess a couple years ago, she was telling me that she got into a car accident. And she'd had mild brain damage, and she's been working it out. And the sister has been trying to, one, get her institutionalized or have her placed in a group home, because she's saying that she can't function. And I found it hard to believe, because like, you're holding a conversation with me, that doesn't seem like you're not able to function. So I found that strange. But I was like, okay. And the short of it is their mother owned a home in West Oakland, which is not the nicest place. And the mother had passed away recently, and they were in a battle for who got the house. Now, you're probably thinking, like, who would want a dilapidated house in West Oakland? I would, because those houses are worth millions of dollars. Like, the house itself is absolute rubbish, but the ground that it's on is worth millions of dollars. Because if you tear that house down and put a new one up, you just made $1 million on top of whatever the property value is. So this is actually a relatively important case that she's dealing with. So I'm like, okay, so give me a little bit of information. Like, what happened? I mean, at this point, now we're grabbing measuring cups and spatulas and any basic household items. Because she's telling me, she's like, well, we've been going back to court and so on and so forth. And basically, I won today. I was like, what do you mean you won? She was like, the judge ruled that I got 100% ownership of the house because she had tried to falsify some documents to get me taken off, and she had had some people beat me up, and I could prove it through text messages. One of them had my phone, something. And I'm like, damn, like that's, whew. And I was like, this is what you're doing? She's like, well, I've always wanted like a new blender or a new toaster, because like she said, she's like, I was a elementary school teacher. Well, she told me she was an elementary school teacher for 30 some odd years, 3 kids, no husband. So it had been a struggle. And this was kind of like a party for herself. Like, I'm going to buy some new things, get some stuff for the kids. So now at this point, after she tells the story, hey, we're rocking out. We're in the aisles, cracking jokes, laughing with each other, whatever. At one point, we were buying. We were in like the whole body. It's like vitamins, stuff like that. They have like a sparse amount of clothes and stuff. And she's putting stuff in the basket, and she says, "What was that song back in the day that the little rappers would sing? They song about just throw it in the bag." Oh, I was cracking up because I was like, first of all, how did you know that song? Because that song is like 20 years old, but it was still kind of funny. She had comedic timing. I could appreciate that. And next thing I know, and half an hour has gone by, and I was like, oh, I gotta go home. But at this point, we got a shopping cart full of stuff, and I can't pass her off to someone else because I've already invested so much emotionally. So I go clock out and then come back to help her. Because I think it was First Friday last week. So First Friday, they shut down the street that we're on, and they have this like festival. So there's no moving. Like there was no moving the car. I had to walk the 2 or 3 blocks home anyways. So I was like, by the time I get home, the missus should be there. Whatever. I've got time. So we're walking around. She's telling me stories from 70s, 80s Oakland, different businesses that were up, different city councilmen, different kids she's had, different parents, just anything you would want to know about Oakland, she knew. And it was fun. Like we're walking around and she was talking about where the house was at, and she was sharing some stories. Like she was talking about why she wanted new stuff. And one of the stories she was telling me was she had 3 kids and her husband had left for whatever reason, no judgment zone. And she said that to make ends meet, she would go to different used bookstores and she would sell books. So like buy used books, buy low, sell high. So because she was a teacher. And so that was also how she would make money for supplies for students. And she would make these lemon pies was another thing that she was telling me. And I didn't know what to say. I was just like, wow, like this couldn't have happened to a better person. Like you always hear about somebody got over and this happened and the family was divided because someone took something that they felt was owed to them and this. And it was just so inspirational. Like she was talking about how for so long this had been a battle and this, and now she had got this house and now she has somewhere to live and they had advanced her this money and that's how she was paying for everything was because once it's funny how that works. When people know you have money, they don't charge you for stuff. But when you don't got money, they charge you for everything. Case in point, I think I want to say Wells Fargo made something like it couldn't have been million. I want to say billion. I think they made like 350 million, 400 million off of overdraft fees in the last year or so, which basically means you made money off of people who didn't have money in their accounts. So it boggles the mind. Just like with what was it? I think I paid more taxes last year than Google did. Yeah, Google, worth billions of dollars, biggest company in the world, and I paid more taxes than them. So it's ironic, and I think that people do it themselves too. Like if you know someone's rich, like you'll just give them stuff because it's like, oh, you can afford it. Well, like here, it's nothing to you. But maybe it should be the other way around. If you know you can afford it, yeah, you're going to pay. But if you can't afford it, But her and I are talking, and next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock. We've got a shopping cart full of stuff. We've got a second shopping cart at this point. And we're just walking through the store, cracking jokes. She's making gentrification jokes. It was a real pleasure to be around her. And so time passes. Next thing you know, 5 o'clock turns to 5:30. I'm like, oh, shit, I've been with you for like an hour and a half. So I'm like, okay, we finally get the last of our stuff. We go up to customer service, and she's like, hey, I'm just going to leave this up here, and I'm going to, or actually, she looks at her watch and says, "Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Oh, I was supposed to be at the house. Something, something. I'm gonna call my ride and have them come get me." So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I take stuff up to customer service. I'm chilling, and the whole time, everyone at customer service is like, haha, and he, and I'm like, what's up with y'all? Like, what are you doing? And they're looking at me like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm helping this lady shop. And they're like, you think she's gonna buy all that? I was like, well, yeah. Like, you heard what you said. Like, she got the house, and so they're like, really? Like, you really believe that, huh? Like, you think that's what happened? I was like, yeah. It's like, why wouldn't it? What do you mean? So I'm like, all right, whatever. So she gets off the phone. She comes back over and she's like, hey, look, I've got to run. I've got to get back to wherever, but I'm gonna have my niece come pick all this up. And as soon as she said that, it came to the one I've at a moment of clarity, and I was like, oh, now I get it. But I still held out. I was like, oh, okay. Well, what do you got to do? Oh, well, I have to go run this errand, something, something. I told my niece what was going on. Here's her phone number. If you don't see her like in the next hour, just call her so she can come get my stuff. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, no problem. So the lady walks out. I have her stuff at customer service. Put her name on it. But something didn't feel right. It felt a little off. So I was like, you know what? Let me go call this number and see who this person is. So I go to the back. I call the number. And to my dismay, it was a Google phone number that no one answered. So I was like, damn, I've really just walked around the store with this lady for an hour and a half, putting stuff in the basket that she's not going to buy. And at first I was upset. I was just kind of like, damn, like I just sat in here for an hour and a half, like doing nothing. like this is a trip. And so I come back to customer service. I'm still visibly upset. I wasn't upset as in angry. I was just kind of like, I could have been at home on the PlayStation. Tru Sav 52. I'm accepting all fades. Like I could have did anything with my hour except this. Like, why would she do that? Like, what? I don't. I was perplexed. I was more confused than upset. It just didn't make sense to me in the moment. Of course, the people at customer service, they didn't care. They were like, well, who's going to put this back? Is the real question, because there's 2 baskets full of stuff, and we're not going to do that. And I was like, look, just because I called and they didn't answer doesn't mean that they're not coming. So maybe it was a misunderstanding. I'm holding out hope at this point. Like, hopefully she'll come back. So I'm like, look, here's the phone number. Here's the name. Just leave it up here in the corner. She said she was supposed to come by like 9:30. If she doesn't come by 9:30, just take it to the back and I'll deal with it in the morning. Like, don't put anything back. No one has to touch it. Like, it's fine. It was my issue. I'll do it. So everyone got a good laugh. It was ha funny time. So I'm in the back. Because I've already clocked out. So I was there for another hour 15, walking around the lady chilling. So now everyone in the store knows, because good news travels fast. And it's hee, and hey, Tru Sav was just shopping with this lady for an hour and a half and she didn't buy anything. Wait, what? So now everyone's looking at the cart. People are taking pictures of the cart, like all the stuff in it. I think I have a picture of it. If I could, I don't remember if I took a picture or not. If I took a picture, I'll post the picture. It was a lot of shit. So I'm just kind of like, yeah. And there's one young lady that I work with in particular that was unmerciful. It was absolutely unmerciful. And she was like, you believe that? Like, you really believed her story? Like, how did that make sense to you? I was like, I don't know. Like, I just believe people. It's not that I'm gullible. It's just, why would you lie? I don't really question people. I take people at their word. Like, if that's what you said happened, then that's what happened. Like, all right, that's what's up. So everyone gets a good laugh. I wasted an hour. So I go to leave, and I walk outside. I go to call my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm on my way home. I'm stuck at work. She's like, oh, well, good, because I didn't bring my keys with me this morning to work, so I'm locked out. But I'm down the street at the store, and you want to just meet me there. So I was like, oh, yeah, well, shit, this is perfect. Like, it worked out perfectly. So we ended up going to the store. I walked with her back to the apartment, explained to her what happened, so on and so forth. Now, the next day, and I'm hoping, like, with all my might, I'm like, please, Lord, please let her come and pick these grocery carts full of stuff up, because I'm never going to hear the end of this if she didn't come pick these carts up. And, of course, as we all know, she didn't. Both carts were sitting there waiting for me with a note on them. So I just clocked in early, like maybe 10, 15 minutes early, and I just started putting stuff back. It was easy because I was there, so I knew where everything went. It probably took me maybe 45 minutes to put everything back. It wasn't that big of a deal. The girl who had made the biggest deal about it, the next day, she was laughing. She was like, hey, like, how long did it take you to put everything back? I was like, 45 minutes. She's like, are you still mad? I was like, I wasn't really mad. She's like, Tru Sav, you were mad, like mad. I was like, not really. I was like, I'm actually kind of glad that it happened. And she's like, well, glad. What? She's like, why would you be glad that someone like wasted your time like that? I was like, well, I don't really look at it like that. I'm looking at it as I was at work. I needed something to do. A customer came in and I helped him. She's like, yeah, but you had to put all that back. And I was like, still, you're thinking too small. I was like, that lady, wherever she is now, whoever she is, whether she suffers from mental illness or she's a compulsive liar or whatever the case may be, from the way our interaction went yesterday, you can't convince me that she's ever been treated like that before in her life. Like, I believe everything that she said up until the point of her winning the house. I feel like she does have a brain injury. She might have been a teacher. I mean, the stories that she described had too much detail and were too in depth. They might 100% be made up. I would like to believe that they weren't. But I think that she was a teacher. I think that she did have this injury. And I think that she probably got played out of that house. And it doesn't bother me in the slightest that she didn't buy anything. I personally think that just the interaction that we had for that hour and a half, she had her own personal shopper. She got to experience that feeling of walking through a store and just, like she said, throwing stuff in the bag. And I know she didn't buy it, but the interaction that I had with her, having someone paying attention to you and treating you with respect and being fully engaged to what you're saying and just being treated like a human being. There were a few items that I was trying to find in the store where she had walked up to other team members and would ask them a question and they would kind of shoo her off or not acknowledge what she was saying and walk off. And even after she had left and we were saying like, yeah, she's probably not going to buy this stuff, they're like, yeah, that's why I didn't talk to her. And that's why I had ignored her and this and this. And I was explaining to the young lady, I was like, okay, she may not have bought anything, but that doesn't mean that she's any less of a person. That doesn't mean that I should now disregard her as a customer. Like, yeah, okay. There was a whole bunch of stuff in baskets that I had to put up. It took some time. But I would like to think that how she felt when she left was more important than how I felt when I had to put some stuff up. That was a minor inconvenience to my day. Like in hindsight, there was a lot of red flags that I missed that I just wasn't paying attention to. I just didn't care to look. Like, if you have this money, like, why are you walking? Like, why are you on the bus? If they fronted you this money, why don't you have a cell phone? Like, if you needed a charger for your phone, why didn't you just go buy one? Like, in hindsight, there was a lot of things that she was doing that I just missed. She was grabbing doubles of things, like 2 and 3 of the same item. I just didn't pay attention. I thought it was just her being overzealous and excited for this newfound money, and I was genuinely excited for her. Like, I think a lot of times all people want is to be treated with respect and love. And I would like to think that in that hour and a half, what was it, 2 hours maybe that we were together, that she was treated like that. And again, I don't know who she is. She might have actually had the money for it. She just chose not to buy it. I doubt that, but I mean, what was it? They always say, integrity is who you are when no one's looking. Like, I gained absolutely nothing from that interaction. Like, no manager saw it, no one saw it. But she knows, I know, the people that I work with know. And as I explained it to them, again, your reputation precedes you. So while they had a chuckle and it's like, yeah, when I finally explained it to them, like, look, what if that was a family member of yours? What if that was a friend of yours? We all know someone who's struggling with mental illness. Would you want your family member, your loved one, or even yourself, would you want to be dismissed? Would you want someone to not deal with you or to not be taken seriously because you don't have money, because you aren't of means, you aren't influential? Like, it's, again, I don't want to try to browbeat my coworkers or anything, but it's how you treat people who can't do anything for you that is the biggest judgment of your character. I finally had to just tell them, like, look, how would you like to be treated like that? So let's say you go into a high-end store, you go to buy your Louis belt or whatever the kids are buying, and you're just dismissed by the salesperson. Or you go somewhere to spend some money and your mother, your uncle, your child is disrespected because they don't fit the profile. They don't have what the salesperson says is the look that they need to be in this kind of store. And I had to tell them, I was like, this is a very sensitive issue for me because I was the kid that I didn't have the cool clothes. I didn't have the cool toys, anything like that. It was just who you are as a person. Oddly enough, I had showed some of the young ladies I worked with, we were doing like Flashback Friday. I showed them a picture of like what I looked like in like 8th grade. And I had my Canadian suit on, looking goofy as ever. And they both were like, yeah, I probably would have never talked to you. Like, I would have avoided you like the plague. And I was like, well, that's odd now because every time I come into work, you guys won't stop talking to me. And like, the first thing you do when you get here is say what's up, you speak, you tell me how this went, you tell me how that went. If I give you advice, you take it. I was like, but based on my appearance, you're saying that you wouldn't even talk to me. Well, back in the day. And it's like how everyone talks about being treated fairly, but you're so quick to judge someone else. Oh, look at this. They don't have that. Oh, why is their hair like this? It's like, it seems so simple to see other people's problems, but so hard to recognize our own. And again, it's not a judgment on them. I try to lead by example and tell them, like, look, man, the world is a cold, unforgiving place. Do you want to be someone who uplifts people and tries to help them come out of that, or do you want to be part of the problem? And do you want to be the people who are making it harder for others? Oh, Tru Sav, life's not fair. It's like, yeah, I understand that. Life's not fair. Life is cruel. I get it. Life's a bitch and then you die. But while I'm here, I would prefer that I'm uplifting of people. I try to help people realize their dreams, goals, aspirations. I don't want to be that person that's got something foul to say about somebody. Someone who's up on their high horse looking down. Like, that's just not me. It's never been. And I will never want to be around people like that. So we had our laugh for the day. That is where I would like this to end. Haha, I had to put the stuff up. But in the future, maybe we should be more mindful of how we treat not only customers, but each other. Like, no one wants to be laughed at. No one wants to be dismissed. Let's not do that. We don't have to. We're better than that. See, I try. I'm right in the groove now. Vacation stories were fun, and now it's back to business. Look at that. An hour and 1 minute. Boy, this is a professional show around here. This is. Big shout out to you guys. I got the first couple of people who do music. So big shout out to y'all. I just need the illustrator now. If I can get some pictures. I have the biggest surprise in the world. It's got to wait, though. I'm going to hold off. Super excited. Super big news. This is what started it all right here. I have got some news that is going to blow your doors off, but we're going to leave it in a cliffhanger. We're going to wait until next week. I got to get some stuff printed out, get a couple things verified. It's going to be on and popping. Slowly but surely, we are taking over the world. I appreciate all of you savages. You guys are now honorary savages. I hate to be the one to tell you this. You are in the crew. So now that means you have to start acting like savages. Treating people with respect. Being people of integrity. Holding yourself to a high standards. Eating correctly, working out, all of that. Not letting your ego take over. We'll come up with some rules and regulations. Again, music for the show. Help your boy out. You already helped me out a lot. That was the power of positive thinking. So with that, anyone who does artwork, illustrations, anything like that, merchandise. Like I said, big news next week. I'll tell you all about it. We're gonna have shirts, sweat. Wait, I'm telling on myself. I'm giving away. See, I'm too excited. I want to tell you guys, but I'm not going to. So remember, I believe in you. Get your plans together. Make it happen. I love y'all. Most importantly, we can't get yesterday back. I might not get tomorrow, so that makes today the best day ever. Peace. I'm going to holler at y'all.